wealthy billionaire, said he was working late. His pregnant wife found out the truth. A whisper of suspicion, a single unanswered phone call, and a crack in a seemingly perfect marriage. These are the seeds of the riveting drama you're about to witness. Thomas Everly, a self-made millionaire revered by his community, claimed his late nights at the office were in the name of ambition. But one stormy night, his pregnant wife, Sophia, discovered an unsettling truth that toppled their blissful facade. This story of hidden secrets, heartbreak, and unexpected betrayals will pull you into a whirlwind of emotion where every clue leads to another layer of deception. Brace yourself. This twisting tale will keep you spellbound until the very end. Sophia Maxwell Everly had grown up believing in the fairy tale version of life, a loving partner, a stable home, and a happy family. In every photograph from her youth, she had that gleam in her eye, like someone who believed wholeheartedly that life was good and that people were, at their core, decent and honest. When she met Thomas Everly 8 years ago, she felt like she'd finally found the missing puzzle piece. He was the kind of man who seemed too good to be true, well-spoken, confident, and successful beyond measure. At only 35 years of age, Thomas had achieved what most could only dream about. He had founded a tech consultancy called Everly Innovations, swiftly turning it into a formidable company in Silicon Valley. People idolized him for his intellect and envied his wealth. Journalists labeled him the next big name in the technology world, comparing him to moguls like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, though Thomas's personal brand was all about charm without arrogance. Their wedding was lavish yet intimate, held in the sunlit gardens of the Montalvo Arts Center in Saratoga. The ceremony featured only close friends and family under a canopy of roses. Sophia's mother, Lauren Maxwell, cried tears of joy, proclaiming she had never seen her daughter happier. The guests raved about the newlyweds' chemistry, describing Thomas as the ultimate catch and Sophia as the radiant bride who had swept him off his feet. For the first few years, everything was bliss. They traveled together Paris, Tokyo, Sydney, always returning with stories of adventure. Sophia felt her life was a beautiful mosaic of experiences and memories. Every trip was a milestone, every day a reason to be grateful. In between these trips, Thomas worked tirelessly at Everly Innovations, building partnerships with private equity firms and forging alliances with corporations such as Apple and Google. Sophia, on the other hand, used her bachelor's degree in art history to volunteer at local museums and art foundations. She was less concerned with money, especially since Thomas had plenty, and more enthralled by creative, cultural pursuits. When she finally became pregnant, the couple celebrated the news in Santorini, a dream destination they had longed to visit. Their Instagram pictures, captioned "Baby Everly on board," collected thousands of likes, with well-wishers from across the globe extending their congratulations. It was, in many respects, a perfect life, but that perfection had its cracks, hairline fractures that can only be detected when the light hits at just the right angle. A stray text message, an unaccounted late-night arrival, and suddenly all was not as it seemed. Thomas's work ethic had always been unrelenting. Even in college, he was notorious for pulling all-nighters to code and tinker with prototypes. So when Everly Innovations began to expand, it wasn't unusual for Thomas to stay at the office long past midnight. Sophia understood. She knew that building an empire meant personal sacrifices. But this time, it felt different. It started with 1 or 2 nights a week, then ramped up to 3 or 4, until it seemed Thomas was barely ever home for dinner. He'd come in at odd hours, sometimes after 2 a.m., and slip into bed while Sophia was sound asleep. When asked in the morning, he would wave it off. A major investor needed a crisis meeting. A new product launch required extra debugging. I had to wine and dine a client. At first, Sophia accepted it, After all, her husband was a driven entrepreneur. Late nights were part of the gig. Then her obstetrician, Dr. Amber de la Cruz, scheduled an appointment for an important prenatal scan. Sophia asked Thomas to come along. It would be their first glimpse of the baby's heartbeat. Thomas said he'd try his best, but texted at the last minute that he was tied up in a crucial negotiation. Disappointment started to chip away at Sophia's optimism. She rationalized, "He's doing this for the family. Once the baby is here, he'll slow down." She convinced herself that was the truth, because it needed to be the truth. However, more unsettling signs began to appear. Thomas, once an open book, started taking secretive phone calls. He would hurriedly leave the room whenever his phone vibrated. He changed the passwords on his phone and laptop, citing company security. The explanation sounded plausible enough, but it carried an unfamiliar tension that gnawed at Sophia's heart. She confided in her best friend, Rachel Quinn, who had known Sophia since high school. They met at a local cafe near the art museum where Sophia volunteered. Rachel, a sharp-witted lawyer, sipped her cappuccino and listened intently as Sophia relayed her worries. "Soph, I don't want to plant bad ideas in your head," Rachel said. "But have you asked him outright if he's seeing someone else?" Sophia almost choked on her herbal tea. "Thomas? Cheating? No, we have a baby on the way. He wouldn't." Yet the seed of doubt was planted, and from that moment on, Sophia found herself scrutinizing every detail, every phone beep, every subtle shift in Thomas's mood. The more she looked, the more anomalies she discovered. One evening, while Thomas was out working late, Sophia decided to tidy up his home office. She rummaged through the drawers, carefully stacking papers that had been scattered about. It was then that she found a hotel keycard from the Four Seasons in Palo Alto, dated a few days prior. At first, her heart hammered so loudly that she had to stand still to steady herself. Why would he need a hotel room so close to home? Their mansion in Los Altos Hills was just a 20-minute drive from Palo Alto. She tried to imagine a perfectly valid reason. A client or investor might have been visiting. Thomas could have booked a day suite to hold confidential meetings. That was possible. Still, the discovery made the hair on the back of her neck stand up. She placed the keycard in a drawer and decided not to confront him immediately. She wasn't even sure what she wanted to ask. Accusing him outright might damage trust if, in fact, there was a straightforward explanation. But the next day, she found something else. A credit card bill from a local jewelry store. A pricey statement listing a brand new diamond necklace purchased just a week before. Thomas had never mentioned a gift, and Sophia never received any such necklace. She told herself it might be an anniversary present waiting to surprise her, although their anniversary was months away. At that point, her mind was spinning with doubts. She glanced down at her barely noticeable baby bump and felt fear. Fear of confrontation, fear of heartbreak, fear that the family she was building might be founded on lies. Sophia felt as though her world had been flipped upside down. Her once blissful marriage was suddenly darkened by doubt, late nights, and an unspoken tension that gnawed at her every time Thomas walked through the door. For weeks, she had tried to reassure herself that this was just a busy season at Everly Innovations, that Thomas was simply under tremendous pressure at work, or that her pregnancy had made her more sensitive and suspicious than usual. Yet, each time she found a stray hotel keycard or noticed his secretive phone calls, her heart sank a little deeper, convinced that something was terribly wrong. Unable to ignore her mounting fear, she made a decision that felt both resolute and terrifying. She would confide in her cousin, Andrew Maxwell. Andrew was no ordinary family member. Based in San Francisco, he had earned a quiet reputation as a private investigator who specialized in a wide range of cases, from corporate espionage to hunting down hidden assets in messy divorces. He was the kind of person who understood the complexity of secrets, and the devastating impact they could have. In fact, Andrew's dedication to his craft had sometimes been a sore point at family gatherings. People whispered that he had once turned down $1 million bribe rather than compromise a case. Still, for all his apparent toughness and unwavering moral compass, Andrew was gentle with family. Sophia knew that if anyone could help her find the truth without creating a public spectacle, it was him. Late one evening, after several nights of restless tossing and turning, Sophia mustered the courage to call him. She sat on the edge of her bed, eyes fixed on the clock as her pulse pounded in her ears. When Andrew's familiar voice answered, calm and measured, a wave of relief washed over her. As she laid out the strange occurrences, the credit card receipts for jewelry she'd never received, the hotel stays too close to home to be mere convenience, and Thomas's increasingly cagey behavior, Andrew listened without interruption. His occasional I see or go on encouraged her to spill every detail, as though she were unraveling a tightly wound ball of yarn that had been choking her for weeks. When she finished, Andrew took a careful breath. "Soph," he said gently, "I'll help you in any way I can. But this is your marriage we're talking about. Once we start uncovering secrets, there may be no going back. Are you absolutely sure you want to do this?" His voice, though reassuring, held an edge of caution. Even he knew some truths had the power to destroy families. Sophia pressed a trembling hand against her abdomen, feeling a faint flutter from the life growing within her. "I have to, Andrew. I can't keep living with these doubts, especially now that I'm pregnant. If Thomas is lying, I need to know. If there's another woman, or something worse, I deserve the truth." Andrew agreed to proceed with utmost discretion, promising he would start small, checking public records, verifying Everly Innovations' reported schedules, and perhaps quietly trailing Thomas for an evening or two to see where he actually went. "Just to confirm," he added carefully, "you suspect a personal issue, not corporate misconduct, right?" With a heavy sigh, Sophia replied, "I'm not sure of anything anymore. I suspect another woman, but I don't know if that's all. I need you to figure it out." Although she felt a pang of guilt for putting Andrew in such a difficult position, her resolve was unyielding. She could no longer bear the burden of uncertainty. Once the call ended, Sophia sat in the quiet bedroom, the only sound the subtle hum of the air conditioner. She knew her life was about to change in some irreversible way. Either she would discover that her worries were unfounded, or she would face the staggering reality of betrayal. In that lonely silence, she wondered which outcome would be harder to accept. Within a week, Andrew contacted Sophia with preliminary findings. Most of it confirmed what she already knew. Thomas was indeed taking a lot of late meetings, but some business dinners he claimed to have didn't show up on official schedules. He was listed as the occupant for a suite at the Four Seasons on multiple dates, possibly corporate-related, but Andrew wasn't sure. Meanwhile, Thomas's behavior at home had grown increasingly erratic. One night, he returned from work with the faint scent of perfume that wasn't Sophia's. Another time, Sophia woke up at 3:00 a.m. to find him in the kitchen, rummaging through the fridge as if looking for something to ground him in the moment. "I'm starving," Thomas said. His tone was cheerful, yet forced. "Didn't get a chance to eat all day." "Long meeting?" she asked, eyeing him intently. He paused. "Yeah. The new Japanese investors were tough to negotiate with. We had to finalize the contract." Sophia felt her chest tighten. She knew from Andrew's checks that the rumored Japanese investors had signed the contract 2 days before. Thomas was lying again. She wanted to confront him, but something, perhaps fear or a desire to preserve whatever was left of their peace, made her hold her tongue. She went back to bed and let Thomas continue his charade in the kitchen. Sophia was not the type to pry into her husband's business associates, but desperation drove her to approach one of Thomas's most trusted lieutenants, a senior project manager named Anthony Glenn. She saw him one morning at a brunch event Everly Innovations hosted for local entrepreneurs. He recognized Sophia immediately and greeted her warmly. "Anthony, can I speak to you privately?" she asked, guiding him to a quieter corner of the bustling event space. He glanced around nervously before nodding. Sophia took a deep breath and tried to keep her voice steady. "Has Thomas mentioned anything about personal issues? Anything about a second place he might be living, or something else?" Anthony looked taken aback. He hesitated, choosing words carefully. "Miss S. Everly, I can't say much about Mr. Everly's personal life, but if you're worried about him, maybe you should talk to him. He's been stressed lately." "Stressed about what?" The man swallowed, looking unsure if he should divulge further. "It's not my place, ma'am. All I can say is that we've been finishing a major contract with some clients overseas, but there have been complications. Mr. Everly has also been working on a personal project." "What kind of personal project?" Sophia pressed. Anthony cleared his throat. "I truly don't know all the details. He's keeping it confidential. I just know it involves a separate fund and some hush-hush investors. That's all I can say." Sophia's mind whirled. A separate fund? Hush-hush investors? Does this personal project involve someone else? "Another partner?" Anthony hesitated, then gave a slight shrug. "I'm not sure who. I only know it's big enough that he's made it a priority, even at odd hours." Sophia nodded numbly, her suspicion burning brighter than ever. She whispered her thanks and left Anthony standing there, looking like he had revealed more than he intended. Sophia's mother, Lauren, had always been her rock. She was a woman of strong intuition, particularly when it came to her daughter's well-being. One afternoon, Sophia invited her mother to the house for tea. Lauren arrived wearing a worried look, sensing trouble. The moment she saw her daughter's pale face and tired eyes, they settled in the garden, the warm California sunlight illuminating the carefully manicured lawn. After some small talk, Lauren reached across the table and touched Sophia's hand. "Sweetheart, I can see something is bothering you. Tell me." Sophia hesitated, tears welling up in her eyes. "It's Thomas. I think... No, I don't know what to think. He's been working late, lying about meetings. I found a hotel key card. And there's this expensive jewelry purchase I don't know anything about. I'm worried he's having an affair or something else." Lauren's expression hardened. "You deserve the truth, Sophia. Don't let pride or fear stop you from confronting him." A brief silence lingered in the air, filled with the soft hum of a distant lawnmower. Sophia finally spoke. "What if I find out something I can't handle, something that ruins our marriage?" Lauren's eyes softened with empathy. "Then you'll face it. You have a child to protect now. You can't afford to accept half-truths." Sophia nodded. She remembered how her mother had faced adversity countless times when Sophia's father had died young, leaving her mother to raise Sophia almost single-handedly. Lauren taught her that resilience was in her blood, and so she resolved to keep digging until she uncovered the truth. Andrew's investigation deepened. He managed to trace some suspicious financial transactions linked to Thomas. Large sums were being funneled into an account under the name of Danielle Moretti, a name Sophia had never heard before. The transactions began about 6 months ago, roughly around the time she got pregnant. Andrew confronted Sophia with the evidence. "Soph, I'm sorry. Money's going to this woman. It could be blackmail, an affair, or some secret business. I'll keep digging, but it doesn't look good." Sophia clutched her phone, tears in her eyes. "Danielle Moretti? Who is she?" "I don't know yet. She's not an employee of Everly Innovations. She doesn't show up in local business records. She could be using an alias." Sophia felt a wave of nausea and had to steady herself on a chair. Andrew gave her a concerned look, offering a glass of water. "You sure you want to continue?" She took a trembling sip. "Yes, I need to know. Unable to bear the mounting suspicion, Sophia decided to confront Thomas one night when he came home around midnight. Her stomach churned as she pictured him stepping through the door, smelling of foreign perfume again, or perhaps reeking of guilt she could nearly taste. When Thomas arrived, he looked more worn than ever, tie loosened, dark rings under his eyes. He tried to kiss Sophia on the cheek, but she pulled back. "We need to talk," she said firmly. He paused, blinking in surprise. "Sure. Can we talk in the morning? I'm exhausted." She shook her head. "Now, Thomas." They went into the living room, the only light coming from a single lamp in the corner. Sophia folded her arms, suddenly feeling colder than the AC setting warranted. "What's really going on with you? You've been distant, lying about your meetings. I found a hotel key card, receipts for jewelry I've never received. And now there's money going to a woman named Danielle Moretti. Who is she?" Thomas's face drained of color. "Sophia, you went through my things?" She glared at him. "Don't change the subject." He raked a hand through his dark hair, exhaling sharply. "It's complicated." Sophia's voice shook. "Tell me, I'm your wife. We're having a baby." Thomas looked away, his jaw clenched. "It's not an affair. It's business. Danielle Moretti is an overseas consultant who's helping me with a new venture, one I can't discuss publicly yet. I've been trying to raise funds discreetly. The jewelry was for her to secure a meeting with some high-profile contacts. It's how this shady network works sometimes, and I hate it, but I have to do it if I want access." Sophia felt her heart pound. "That's insane. Why would you have to bribe people with jewelry? You've never done that before." Thomas swallowed, his eyes shifting nervously. "It's for a bigger cause. If this deal goes through, we stand to double our fortune. I'm not proud of it, but it's what these international players expect. I stay in hotels nearby for clandestine meetings, so the press doesn't catch on." He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "Soph, you have to believe me." Stunned silence filled the room. Sophia's instincts told her there was more to the story, but Thomas's expression was a cocktail of desperation and exhaustion that gave her pause. She wanted to scream, but found no words left in her throat. "Why lie to me?" she finally managed to whisper. Thomas sighed. "I didn't want to put you at risk. If things went south, this is very high stakes. I was trying to protect you and the baby." Sophia stood up, tears threatening to spill down her cheeks. "I can't do this right now. I need space." He tried to stop her as she headed for the bedroom, but she closed the door behind her, turning the lock. She wept quietly in the darkness, unsure of what or whom to believe. Sophia spent the next few days in a haze, replaying Thomas's explanation in her mind. Something still felt off. Why would a legitimate international deal require secret hotel meetings, bribes of jewelry, and wire transfers to a mysterious woman? If it were above board, there would be legal channels, official negotiations. Late one afternoon, while Sophia was lying on the couch clutching her slightly rounded belly, her phone buzzed. It was Andrew, and his voice carried a new urgency. "Soph, we've got more. I traced Danielle Moretti to an address in Redwood City, but it turns out that the real occupant is someone named Christine Doyle. The name Danielle might be an alias." Sophia's heart thumped. "So that's not even her real name?" "Apparently not. Also, the real occupant was recently admitted to Redwood City Community Hospital for a surgery fully paid for by a certain TE Holdings. That looks suspiciously like an entity belonging to your husband." Sophia's jaw dropped. "A surgery? Do you know what kind?" Andrew hesitated. "It might be a hush-hush procedure, possibly related to fertility or stuff like that." Sophia's stomach lurched. Fear spiked through her veins like ice. "Oh my God. Andrew, are you suggesting that Thomas might be paying for someone else's pregnancy or surrogacy?" "I don't have definitive proof yet, but there's definitely something connecting your husband to this Christine Doyle. I'll keep digging. For a long time, Sophia sat there, her thoughts swirling. If Thomas was paying for another woman's fertility treatments, what did that imply? Was he fathering another child outside their marriage, or was it blackmail to cover up some scandal? Every scenario felt darker and more daunting than the last. Days passed. Thomas tried to maintain a veneer of normalcy, occasionally texting Sophia from the office with sweet messages like, "Hope you're feeling well, love," or "Take care of our little one." But the warmth behind his words felt diminished. On a Saturday morning, Sophia received a surprising call from Dana Caldwell, an old friend from college who had recently moved to the Bay Area. She asked to meet at a coffee shop in Menlo Park, insisting it was important. They hadn't spoken in years, but her tone on the phone was urgent. When Sophia arrived, Dana was already seated, a latte trembling in her hands. After exchanging pleasantries, Dana leaned forward. "Sophia, this is awkward, but I may have information you need. About Thomas." Sophia's heart pounded. "Please, go on." Dana swallowed nervously. "I work at Redwood City Community Hospital. I saw your husband there a few times over the last month. He was visiting a patient named Christine Doyle. I didn't put two and two together until I saw your pregnancy announcement on social media. I thought maybe she was a family friend, but the way they interacted seemed intimate. Intimate." The word stabbed Sophia in the chest. "What exactly did you see?" Dana hesitated. Thomas was comforting her after a procedure. He held her hand, stroked her hair. They looked like, well, more than friends. And one time, I overheard her telling him, "I'm scared. What if it doesn't work out?" And he replied, "You're going to be fine. I'll take care of everything." Sophia's breathing grew shallow. She placed a shaking hand over her belly. "Did you hear anything else?" Dana shook her head. "No. I'm sorry I had to get back to my shift, but it looked serious, Soph. I felt you should know." Tears burned at the corners of Sophia's eyes. She thanked Dana for her honesty, though it felt like her entire world was collapsing. By the time Sophia left the coffee shop, her mind was set on finding out the truth directly from Thomas. She couldn't live with half answers anymore. That evening, she confronted Thomas again, her demeanor calm but resolute. "I know about Christine Doyle," she said, staring him in the eyes. "I know you paid for her hospital bills. I know you've been visiting her." Thomas paled, his shoulders sagging. He sank into the nearest chair, burying his face in his hands. "Sophia, please let me explain. This has nothing to do with cheating." "Then what is it? Because from where I stand, it looks like you're paying for another woman's pregnancy. Or something just as insane." He exhaled shakily. "Christine Doyle she's my half-sister." The revelation hung in the air like a cloud of smoke. Sophia blinked in disbelief. "Your half-sister? You've never mentioned her before." "I only found out about her 6 months ago," Thomas said, words spilling out in a flood. "My father had an affair years ago. Christine contacted me after doing a DNA test. She was in a dire medical condition, needing a rare surgery to remove fibroids that threatened her fertility and overall health. She didn't have insurance. She asked for my help. I couldn't say no." Sophia stared at him, emotions churning. "Then why lie? Why the secret names, the hush-hush money transfers, the late-night visits?" Thomas ran a trembling hand through his hair. "Because Christine was worried about the press. If anyone found out, it would ruin our family image, maybe even cause a scandal that could tank my company's valuations. She also didn't want her personal life splashed in tabloids. We used an alias, Danielle Moretti, for certain transactions to protect her privacy. The jewelry was actually for an auction fundraiser to raise more money for her. I was trying to keep everything under wraps until after her procedure and recovery. I'm sorry, Sophia. I've been handling this all wrong." Sophia felt an enormous weight lift from her chest, only to be replaced by anger at his deception. "Thomas, do you have any idea how this made me feel? I thought you were cheating on me, carrying on some affair while I'm pregnant." Thomas looked devastated. "I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I was trying to protect my sister, keep it discreet. Christine swore me to secrecy until she could get back on her feet. That's why I rented hotel rooms and took calls in private. I didn't want you to be dragged into the drama." Sophia's voice trembled with a mixture of relief and betrayal. "You should have told me. I'm your wife. We're supposed to share these burdens." He nodded, tears welling in his eyes. "You're absolutely right. I let my fear of public scrutiny overshadow my duty to be honest with you. Please forgive me." She took a step back, tears streaming down her face. "I need time. You shattered my trust. Even if it's not an affair, you lied to me repeatedly." Thomas inhaled deeply. "Take all the time you need. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right." Over the next few days, Sophia felt torn between anger and relief. On one hand, she was grateful this wasn't the nightmare she initially suspected. On the other, she couldn't ignore the betrayal of trust. She had not only endured the emotional torment of believing her husband was cheating, but she had also put their unborn child through stress and anxiety. Thomas tried to make amends, cooking breakfast, massaging her aching feet, and offering nightly apologies. He even arranged for Christine to meet Sophia, hoping to clear the air. They agreed to gather at a quiet restaurant in Palo Alto. Sophia's palms felt clammy as she sat at a corner table, waiting. Christine arrived wearing a simple dress, moving gingerly like someone still recovering from surgery. She was slender, with features reminiscent of Thomas's late father, a telling hint that her claim of being his half-sister was likely true. She approached the table with a cautious smile. "Sophia? I'm Christine. It's so nice to finally meet you." Sophia nodded politely, studying the woman who had unknowingly turned her life upside down. They chatted, Christine apologizing profusely for the secrecy and for the financial trouble she had thrust upon Thomas. Tears filled Christine's eyes as she recounted how she had grown up, never knowing her biological father. Discovering Thomas had been a last, desperate attempt to save her own life. "I'm so sorry for the pain this caused," Christine whispered. "Thomas only did what I asked. I begged him to keep me a secret because I was terrified of the media and all the complications it would bring." Sophia's anger softened. She saw genuine remorse in Christine's gaze. Still, she felt bruised by the deception. "I understand, but I wish you both had trusted me enough to confide in me from the start." Thomas, sitting beside them, nodded vigorously, clasping Sophia's hand. "I regret everything. Please forgive us." Sophia exhaled, feeling the weight of her heartbreak slowly lift. "I'm willing to try to move past this. But, Thomas, from now on, no more secrets. Whatever it is, we face it together." He squeezed her hand. "I promise." Just when Sophia believed she'd reached the end of this labyrinth of lies, a new complication emerged. 1 week after reconciling with Thomas, she received a call from Andrew, her private investigator cousin, who sounded unusually worried. "Soph, are you sure Thomas was honest about Christine being his half-sister?" Andrew asked. Her heart clenched. "Why? Did you find something else?" Andrew hesitated. "I managed to get some deeper records from Redwood City Community Hospital. Christine's condition wasn't just fibroids. She was pregnant." Sophia nearly dropped the phone. "Pregnant?" "Yes. The documents suggest she suffered complications that required surgical intervention. She lost the baby. Thomas was listed as the emergency contact." Sophia felt her world spin. "Thomas told me she was his half-sister. Why would she be pregnant? Could be a separate matter. But the father's name isn't listed in the hospital records," Andrew said carefully. "All I know is that Christine was indeed pregnant and Thomas was closely involved." Tears filled Sophia's eyes. Was Thomas lying yet again? Had he fathered that child? Or was he simply supporting his sister through an unrelated pregnancy? A nauseating dread settled in her stomach. She knew she had to confront Thomas again. When Thomas returned home that evening, Sophia wasted no time. "Thomas, I know Christine was pregnant. Why didn't you tell me?" He froze in the living room, jacket still in hand. A flicker of panic crossed his face. "Sophia, I can explain, then do it. Explain how your so-called half-sister was pregnant, and you were named as her emergency contact. Did you father her child?" Her voice trembled with anger and heartbreak. Thomas's eyes widened in horror. "Good God, no. That's disgusting. She's my half-sister, Sophia. I swear that part is true. Then whose baby was it?" He sighed deeply, sinking onto the sofa. "Christine had a boyfriend, an abusive one who left her when she fell pregnant. She was terrified and alone. When she told me, I offered to help cover her medical expenses. And then things got complicated with her surgery and she lost the baby. She asked me not to tell you because she felt ashamed and didn't want more pity or attention." Sophia scrutinized his face, looking for any hint of deceit. "Why didn't you tell me after everything that already happened? You knew how suspicious I was." Thomas lowered his gaze, tears brimming. "I was afraid it would make things worse. I thought you'd never believe me if you found out she was pregnant. I realize now how foolish that was. I'm so sorry." Sophia's eyes flooded with tears as the full weight of the secrets descended upon her. "I want to trust you, Thomas, but you keep making it so hard." He reached for her, voice trembling. "I'm begging you, give me one last chance. I'll do anything to make this right." Sophia inhaled slowly, placing a hand on her stomach. The baby kicked softly, a reminder of the future at stake. "Then from now on we do this together. No more lies, no more secrets." Thomas nodded, tears streaming down his cheeks. They embraced, both exhausted by the emotional roller coaster that had become their lives. In the following weeks, Thomas cancelled his late meetings, vowing to work from home whenever possible. He slowly built bridges with Sophia's mother, Lauren, and even Andrew, explaining the truth about Christine. Though the tension eased somewhat, Sophia still struggled with a lingering sense of betrayal. She knew trust took time to rebuild. Christine stayed low profile, still mourning her lost child. Sophia, empathizing with another woman's heartbreak, reached out to offer kindness. The two met for coffee, and Christine poured out her grief. "I've made so many mistakes. If I had known how my secrecy would hurt you and Thomas, I would have handled things differently," Christine confessed, tears glimmering in her eyes. Sophia gently patted her hand. "I'm not sure we can ever be close, but I understand why you did what you did. I don't blame you entirely." They ended the conversation with a tentative olive branch, understanding that healing would require mutual effort and transparency. During this uneasy peacetime, another storm was brewing, this time at Everly Innovations. Whispers of insider trading and a looming scandal circulated among the staff. Investors grew skittish, pulling out millions of dollars in funding. Thomas spent every waking hour trying to salvage his company, ironically returning to those dreaded late nights he had promised to avoid. Sophia confronted him. "You said no more secrets." He squeezed her hand, eyes filled with regret. "I'm not hiding this. The business is in crisis. We lost a key investor who found out about the hush-hush personal fund and got spooked." Sophia blinked. "The fund used to pay for Christine's hospital bills?" Thomas sighed. "Among other things, yes. It turns out there were some questionable uses of company money. Now, the board is blaming me for misappropriation of funds, even though I use my personal accounts. It's complicated. If we don't fix this, the company could collapse." Sophia swallowed hard. "Do you risk losing everything?" He nodded solemnly. "Everything. The mansion, the cars, our savings. We could be on the brink of bankruptcy if the stock price continues to plummet." Sophia rubbed her baby bump, anxiety surging. "Thomas, we can't have this kind of stress. Not now." He embraced her, a tear trickling down his cheek. "I know, my love. I'm doing everything I can." The next month devolved into a frantic scramble. Thomas worked day and night to restructure debt, appease shareholders, and negotiate new partnerships. Sophia, despite the emotional strain, tried to support him as best she could, even attending some PR events to dispel rumors that the Everly family was in crisis. Andrew offered his expertise in corporate investigations to see if there was any sabotage from within. He discovered some anomalies in the company's ledgers that suggested an internal mole had leaked sensitive information to the press. This mole had manipulated the story, making Thomas look guilty of embezzlement when, in fact, the money was personal. Suspicion fell on Anthony Glenn, the senior project manager who had been cagey during Sophia's earlier inquiry. Andrew discovered that Anthony had been taking bribes from a rival company to feed negative press about Thomas's hush-hush deals. Furious, Thomas confronted Anthony, who eventually confessed to orchestrating the leak to sabotage Thomas in exchange for a better job elsewhere. Thomas fired him, but the damage was done. Shareholders were already skittish, and the press latched onto the story, painting Thomas as a corrupted millionaire. Lawsuits loomed. The board considered ousting Thomas as CEO to protect the company's reputation. One evening, Thomas returned home looking more defeated than ever. He handed Sophia a legal document, his resignation letter, as CEO. Tears glistened in his eyes. "I'm stepping down, Soph. It's the only way to save the company. They need a scapegoat, and I'm it." Sophia's chest tightened. "But this is your life's work," he nodded, voice trembling. "I know, but I can't let Everly Innovations sink. The board will bring in a new CEO, settle with investors, and hopefully salvage the company. In the meantime, I'll be out of a job and will have to prepare for the financial fallout." Sophia wrapped her arms around him, tears streaming. "We'll face it together." At that moment, she felt a sharp pain in her belly, followed by a rush of panic. The baby was coming too early. Thomas called an ambulance, and in a blur of sirens and hospital lights, Sophia was rushed to the maternity ward. At the hospital, doctors confirmed that Sophia was experiencing premature labor. Fear clutched Thomas's heart as he recalled Christine's ordeal. He hovered by Sophia's side, holding her hand as she struggled through contractions. Hours passed in a haze of tears and pain, but eventually a tiny cry pierced the air, and their baby boy was born. Though premature, the baby was healthy enough to breathe on his own. Overwhelmed with relief, Thomas and Sophia held their son, tears of gratitude and exhaustion coursing down their faces. In that moment, nothing else mattered, not the scandals, not the family secrets, not the fortune that might crumble. They named him Oliver Maxwell Everly, a tribute to Sophia's family name and the father she loved dearly. As they cradled the fragile infant, Thomas whispered promises of a new beginning, a pledge to remain honest, to put family first above all else. In the weeks that followed, Thomas faced court hearings and settlements. Ultimately, he was fined for financial negligence, but wasn't charged with embezzlement, thanks to Andrew's evidence exposing Anthony Glenn's sabotage. Everly Innovations underwent a restructuring, with Thomas officially out as CEO. The company survived under new leadership, though no longer at the pinnacle of its influence. With his reputation tarnished, Thomas found it difficult to secure immediate job offers, but he had enough savings and the sale of certain assets to keep the family afloat for the time being. They sold the lavish mansion in Los Altos Hills and moved into a more modest but cozy home in Redwood City, ironically near where Christine lived. Christine, slowly recovering from her own emotional and physical scars, tried to reconcile further with Thomas and Sophia. She frequently visited, offering to babysit Oliver. Though their relationship remained delicate, mutual compassion began to bridge the divide. As for Sophia and Thomas, the road to rebuilding trust was long and filled with challenges. Therapy sessions became a weekly ritual counseling that helped them process the lies, the betrayals, and the near collapse of their marriage. Through tearful confessions and earnest apologies, they discovered a deeper understanding of each other's fears and vulnerabilities. Months passed, each day inching them closer to a sense of normalcy. Oliver grew stronger, his bright eyes a constant source of wonder and hope for Sophia and Thomas. They found joy in small things, family walks in the neighborhood, cooking dinner together, laughing at Oliver's first gurgles. Thomas began freelancing as a technology consultant, forging business connections more cautiously and with a renewed sense of morality. He vowed never to let ambition overshadow honesty again. Sophia, seeing her husband's genuine remorse, gradually let go of her anger. The faint lines of heartbreak on her face slowly softened each time she watched Thomas care for their son. One afternoon, they received a phone call from an unexpected source, Nathan Chen, a reputable venture capitalist who had once admired Thomas's early work. Nathan offered Thomas a partnership in a new, ethically focused startup that aimed to develop technology solutions for sustainable energy. It was exactly the fresh start Thomas needed, both financially and morally. Sophia encouraged him to accept. "This is your chance to rebuild, to do things the right way." Thomas agreed, a renewed spark lighting his eyes. "I won't squander this opportunity." As the weeks turned into months, and Oliver grew healthier by the day, Sophia finally felt that cloud of heartbreak lift. Their family wasn't perfect, it was scarred, but those scars were slowly healing. Sometimes, in moments of reflection, Sophia wondered if they would have ever understood the true meaning of loyalty and resilience without enduring that harrowing journey. Nearly a year later, life had changed dramatically. Thomas's new startup, Evergreen Tech, thrived under his leadership and even garnered praise in financial circles for its honest, transparent practices. The press began to focus less on his past scandal and more on his new enterprise's potential to revolutionize sustainable tech. Sophia returned to volunteering at local art galleries, often carrying Oliver along in a sling. She found solace in the creative world, appreciating beauty in ways she never had before, perhaps because she had experienced the dark side of heartbreak and deception. Every painting or sculpture she encountered felt like a testament to rebirth, a reflection of how humans persevere through chaos and tragedy. Their home in Redwood City wasn't as grand as the Los Altos Hills mansion, but it was filled with a warmth that their old house sometimes lacked. The modest backyard was perfect for Oliver to crawl around in, and the sunlit living room became a haven for family gatherings. Lauren Maxwell visited often, proud of her daughter's resilience. Rachel Quinn dropped by with baby gifts, joking that Oliver would become the next big child art prodigy. Even Andrew found time to join them for a home-cooked meal, no longer needing to tail Thomas around with a camera and suspicious mind. As for Christine, she found peace too. She moved to San Diego, starting a new chapter away from the painful memories of Redwood City. She and Thomas stayed in touch, forming a fragile sibling bond. On Oliver's first birthday, Christine sent a handmade quilt as a gift, a gesture that symbolized patched-up pieces of a broken past coming together in a new pattern. In a quiet moment one evening, Thomas and Sophia sat on their porch, watching a gentle breeze rustle the leaves of a nearby oak tree. Oliver slept in his crib, the baby monitor silent except for soft breathing. Thomas leaned over, pressing his forehead to Sophia's. "We made it," he whispered, "after everything." Sophia smiled, her eyes glistening in the moonlight. We did. We're stronger because of it. They watched the sky, the stars twinkling like distant beacons of hope. And in those silent moments, they understood that love, battered and bruised, could be reborn into something richer if nurtured with honesty, compassion, and the unwavering resolve to stand by each other's side. Thank you for joining us in this unforgettable journey of secrets, heartbreak, and redemption. From the moment Thomas claimed he was just working late, to the tense hospital visit where their precious child arrived too soon, the Everleighs' world was turned upside down by hidden truths, haunting lies, and unexpected revelations. In the end, it wasn't fame or fortune that saved them, but their commitment to honesty, love, and family. This story proves that even in the face of betrayal, hope can shine through, and trust, though fragile, can be rebuilt when two hearts choose forgiveness and transparency. If you found this story gripping, moving, or inspiring, we'd love for you to show your support. Please like this video, share it with anyone who appreciates a roller coaster of drama and redemption, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more riveting tales that explore the depths of the human heart. Thank you for watching.